What is good? Welcome to episode 10 of season 1 of Startup Dropout, where I share the lessons that I've learned in my experiences in business through acquisitions, transitions, etc., etc. And I'm learning with you guys. On episode 9, we are talking about how to use the phone, pick up the phone, tips for being effective. So, as I've mentioned, I'm working on a season dedicated solely to sales advice only. But this is a good topic to dive into for now. Pick up the fucking phone and how to be effective. Let's start with this. Do not leave voicemails unless you already have a relationship with somebody or a rapport with that person. Rapport, if you don't know what I mean by rapport, is some sort of relationship, commonality. They would recognize your name, they know who you are. Now, let me give you two examples here. I want you to imagine that you get a phone call and you don't answer it, and it rings and rings and rings, and then it leaves a voicemail, and you check it later in the day, and it's, "Hi, my name is Tyler. I'm calling to let you know that I have this awesome widget for you, and I would love to talk with you. Give me a call when you get a minute." Then they call back, right? Maybe later on that day or the next day. Are you going to answer the phone? Probably not, because you just heard that stupid ass voicemail that they left. Now, let's say you're feeling nice or you didn't recognize the number in the voicemail and you let it ring again, so you ignore it. Then they call back again. You're definitely not going to answer because they've now left two voicemails exposed that they're trying to sell you something, and there's no way you're going to answer it. Now, the other example is, let's pretend you get a phone call and it's ringing and ringing and you're busy, you can't answer it. And then they don't leave a voicemail. Now, they call back later that afternoon, and again, you're so busy you can't answer that call. Then the following day comes, that phone number rings again. Now, are you going to answer it? Maybe, maybe not. Let's say you don't, and they don't leave a voicemail, and then they call back again the next day. Now, every day that they call back, you're more and more likely to answer the phone because you want to know what the hell is going on, right? If they leave a voicemail, they've exposed the fact that they're trying to sell something to you, and you can instantly say no. So think about it. Do not leave voicemails unless you already have rapport with somebody, because you have that element of mysteriousness when you call and don't leave a voicemail. So don't fucking leave voicemails. Plus, it adds an extra minute or two to every one of your calls, and if you're getting 50 dials to 100 dials in a day, which you should be, therefore, you're adding on hours and hours of time unnecessarily. So, moving on. Have you seen the Wolf of Wall Street? I'm sure you have. Of course you fucking have. You watched it and now you decided to be an entrepreneur, huh? Well, remember when Leonardo DiCaprio gets that epic lunch with Matthew McConaughey, which is my favorite part, by the way? And Matthew says to Leo that you have to act as if. That is key with the phone. Act as if. Act as if your call is the most important fucking call on the planet. This translates when you're calling. It's kind of the same idea. When you're smiling, people can actually tell that on the phone. That's how wild it is that these secondary emotions, or primary emotions, I guess, but not the primary speech, but the actual physical piece around it makes a way bigger difference than you realize. So when you're trying to get in touch with somebody, you just need to simply Google whatever their business name is and then put, quote, corporate office afterwards, and you'll find their address plus the corporate office. I found that that works a lot better than searching for their phone number because you'll usually get some 1-800 number or a customer support line, and you won't actually get the corporate office that you're looking for. Another option is if they have actual locations, you can call them and ask for the corporate number. So for example, if you're trying to get in the door at Chick-fil-A, you can go to a local Chick-fil-A and get the corporate number from there. But when you call, you'll get a switchboard. And my recommendation is that you learn to make gatekeepers your best allies. But I'll save that for a season dedicated solely to sales. But this is about calling. So when you call, let's say you need to get in touch with Joe Johnson of Megatron. Just made that shit up. So you Google Megatron corporate office and you get the corporate number. Then you call, you click 0 to get to the operator or the, quote, gatekeeper. It'll always be something like this. Thank you for calling Megatron. This is Margaret. How can I help you? If you hear, how can I help you, you're dealing with a true gatekeeper. If you hear, thank you for calling Megatron. This is Margaret. How may I direct your call? Then you are golden. Unless you stumble over your words like a straight D-bag, you're golden. But this almost never happens. So when they say, how may I direct your call? You just say the person's name and they direct you. Now, more likely than not, it's going to say something to the extent of, thank you for calling Megatron. This is Margaret. How can I help you? Gatekeeper. So the how can I help you line from Margaret, if you say, hey Margaret, how are you? Can I please talk with Joe Johnson, please? Guess what she's going to say? And who am I talking with? Well, this is Tyler from company X. Okay, hold on 1 second, she'll say. Well, she is full of shit 95% of the time. She's going to come back to the line in about 3 seconds, saying that he's not available and would you like his voicemail? Which, you know how I feel about voicemails. So what should you say and what should you do? Well, what did I say a minute ago? You need to act as if. As if Joe Johnson is your frat bro pledge that you went through Hell Week together, right? That is your brother from another mother that you talk to on the regs. So when Margaret says, thank you for calling Megatron, this is Margaret, how may I help you? You say like the frat star you are, Joe please, it's Ty. You say it like, what the fuck Margaret, you don't recognize my sexy voice? Transfer me to Joe, goddammit, he's my buddy. You have to have that as if mentality. And over 90% of the time, she will. And it will be done absolutely, and it works quite well. Now, the true gatekeeper won't fall for this shit. It's okay, though, because you got to get her on side. I think that it's worth noting that for a moment, I was never in frats. I hired lots of frat kids, but my fiance was a sorority girl, and lots of my buddies are in frats, but I am not a frat star. I just want to be clear about that. I'm just trying to speak y'all's language here. Anyways, the gatekeeper that don't fall for that, Ty, what the hell? Well, she say, sure, Tyler, what company are you? You say your company, but hopefully, you started listening and, she may not recognize your name, right? Because you just started this company. She's not going to recognize the company name. And you're so fucked, right? So you need to act as if Joe is your best friend. And what the hell, Margaret? Put me in touch. Joe, it's Tyler. Hey, Joe, please. It's Tyler. Now, if you've already scheduled a call, then I'll save the details on how to do that later. But nevertheless, other fire phone calling tips, and I've mentioned this in another episode, but it's worth repeating, is calling outside of 9 to 5 p.m. Just Google their area code and what time zone they're in, and do not call 9 to 5. My favorite time to call is around 8 a.m. or around 6 p.m. for whatever time zone they're in, because guess what? No gatekeepers. And also, those people you're trying to get in touch with are probably grinders that are there early. So remember, you're interrupting them. So you might be more likely to get their time of day when you call them outside the 9 to 5. Another tip is silence is golden. It is okay, especially during sales demos and calls, once you've gotten past that cold call stage or even in the cold call stage, just pause and to have silence. Sometimes whoever talks first loses. Don't lose that easily. Another tip for you is save numbers in your cell. Once you get your shit together and hustling and stalking like we've talked about before, you're going to get a lot of calls all the time. Because remember, you're making 30, 50 dials a day, which we'll talk about in the sales season. Now, never answer an unknown number because they're going to catch you off guard, right? This number comes in, they're going to say, hey, what's the deal with blank? And you may not have that information offhand. So make sure to save numbers so when you do get a call, you know exactly who it is. You know it's Rick from Megatron instead of, hello, with this like dark hole of uncertainty of who the fuck is calling you. Now another tip is call from different phones. I can't tell you how many times I've used my team's phone or grab an intern and grab his cell phone or even a buddy's phone to call prospects. Catch them off guard. So if I was to ask you, are you picking up the phone? Are you getting stopped by the gatekeeper? Are you giving Margaret the opportunity to shut you down? Or are you acting as if, Joe, it's Tyler. Joe, please, it's Ty. So pick up the phone. Stay tuned for season 2, where we'll dive right into the sales, and make those calls and don't give up.